Big Pharma medical firms donated $750K. What? So, we're going to go through this. This is a Salon article. Big Pharma medical firms donated $750,000 to Kyrsten Sinema. Then she opposed the drug bill and the reconciliation plan. Senator Kyrsten Sinema, the controversial Arizona Democrat who threatens to derail President Biden's legislative agenda, received more than $750,000 in donations from the pharmaceutical and medical device industries. After that, she announced her opposition to a Democratic plan to lower prescription drug costs. Sinema told White House officials that she opposes House and Senate bills that would allow Medicare to negotiate drug costs, sources told Politico this week. Democrats estimate these bills would save $450 billion over the next... excuse me, got something in my eye. $450 billion over the next decade. Over the $450 billion. Like, all these fiscal conservatives are always talking about saving money, and then you put something forward that does that. Oh, shit. That's right. It's going to affect some business, right? It's going to affect our donors. $450 billion over the next decade, and thereby pay for a large proportion of Joe Biden's $3.5 trillion spending plan. The budget bill would expand childcare, health care, and paid family leave, and would fund programs to combat climate change. Oh, we know about that. Three House Democrats have also balked at the plan, although they have offered a centrist alternative that would drastically limit which drugs are subject to Medicare negotiation. Sinema reportedly opposes that proposal as well. During her successful 2018 Senate campaign, Sinema repeatedly vowed to lower prescription drug prices and drug costs for seniors. Dude, she had ads about this shit all over the place here. Like, I saw them everywhere. I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing? Like, what is she doing? Like, I'm telling you, there is something that somebody has on her. I don't know that it's all just money. Maybe it's like, what do they say? You take the money or you take the bullet, kind of thing. I don't know. But I've never seen somebody move so far to the right so fast in my whole freaking life. Like, this is insane. Sinema is a longtime favorite of the pharmaceutical industry, and now appears ready to undermine Biden's entire agenda as Big Pharma wages a lobbying blitz in hopes of torpedoing the bill, which nearly 90% of voters support. Why is she going against what 90% of voters support? 90% of the voters in this country want this shit. This is something that she's there to do. I don't get it. This is bullshit. Like, why are we catering to this bullshit? Why are we catering to this crap? Sinema and several House Democrats who oppose the drug pricing plan have received major financial support from the industry. Given a 50-50 Senate and a narrow House majority of 220 to 212, with 3 seats currently vacant, their opposition could sink the proposal or even the entire budget bill. Sinema has received $519,988 from PACs and individuals in the pharmaceutical industry throughout her political career. Jesus. According to data from the Center for Responsive Politics, she brought in more than $120,000 in pharma contributions between 2019 and 2020, even though she is not up for re-election until 2024. Sinema has also received $190,161 from donors in the pharmaceutical manufacturing space and another $62,797 from the medical supplies industry. Wow. Could we see that coming? Everybody's frickin' bot. Everybody's frickin' bot, dude. Sinema's office is led by a former lobbyist whose firm worked on behalf of pharmaceutical companies. The senator's chief of staff, Meg Joseph, was a registered lobbyist and principal at Clark and Weinstock, where her clients included the health insurer HealthNet. And during her tenure, the company also lobbied on behalf of numerous pharmaceutical companies, including Pfizer, drug distributor AmerisourceBergen Group, and the biotech firm Genzyme Corp. It also lobbied on behalf of Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America, Pharma, and AdvaMed, two major industry trade groups. Sinema did not respond to questions from Salon. Her spokesman Josh LeBombard told Politico that she is committed to working directly in good faith with her colleagues and President Biden on the proposed budget reconciliation package. He continued, given the size and scope of the proposal, while those discussions are ongoing, we are not offering detailed comment on any one proposed piece of the package. Sinema got major backing from the industry before her threat to derail the Democrats' drug bill. Center Forward, a Washington nonprofit that has received at least $4.5 million from Pharma, has run TV and digital ads praising Sinema for the past 2 weeks, according to Daily Poster, and sent out pro-Sinema mailers urging recipients to thank Senator Sinema for fighting as an independent voice. The group's board includes at least 2 pharma lobbyists who work on drug pricing issues and represent numerous pharmaceutical companies. Senate Budget Chairman Bernie Sanders called out Big Pharma's campaign to defeat the drug pricing legislation during a speech on Tuesday in front of Pharma's headquarters in Washington. The overriding motivation for the pharmaceutical industry is greed, he said. Their overriding goal is to make as much money as they can by squeezing as much as they possibly can out of the sick, out of the elderly, and out of the desperate. Oh, hell yeah. People wonder why I like this guy. Sinema isn't the only Democrat who vowed to fight for lower drug costs before rejecting a plan that would do just that. Rep. Scott Peters of California in 2019 praised the drug pricing plan, but after receiving nearly $230,000 in the 2020 election cycle from the industry, as Salon's Josh Skolnick reported, had an otherwise unexplained change of heart. Earlier this year, he led a group of 10 House Democrats in opposing the bill in a letter to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. If you institute it, you won't have cures because you'll dry up all the private investment that does that research. Bullshit. Bullshit. Their profit margin is like ridiculously high. They make ridiculous amounts of money off of these prescription drugs. That's absolutely not true, Dave Mitchell, founder of independent nonprofit Patients for Affordable Drugs Now, said in an interview with Salon. The claim that the bill would hinder development in Big Pharma is a lie and a scare tactic, said Mitchell, who suffers from multiple myeloma, a blood cancer treated with a combination of drugs that he said carry a price tag of more than $900,000 per year. Imagine it costing you $1 million to live. Imagine it costing you $1 million a year to live. Like, Jesus. I wouldn't be able to do it, I would be dead. There's no way. It's not even feasible. It's beyond ridiculous. For me as a patient with incurable cancer, it sounds very much like extortion. Like the gun is at your head. Pay whatever we tell you, Mr. Mitchell, or you're going to die. He said it's bullshit. Thank you. That's one of my favorite words. Large pharmaceutical companies see profit margins that are much higher than other industries. A recent analysis by the nonprofit West Health Policy Center and Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health found that big pharma firms could lose $1 trillion in sales over the next decade and still maintain their current research investments. Did you hear that? That's how big of a profit margin they have. They can lose $1 trillion and it doesn't even touch their research budget. $1 trillion. Of course, that's over 10 years. So, but come on. A recent analysis by the Congressional Budget Office estimated at the Democrats' bill would reduce the number of new drugs developed by about 2 per year over the next 2 decades. You're talking about a tiny impact on new drug development, Mitchell said. We can compensate for that by sending more money to the National Institutes of Health, he continued, because NIH is the engine of innovative new drug development. It's the single largest biomedical research agency in the world. All 356 drugs approved by the FDA from 2010 to 2019 are based on research, basic science from the NIH. Peters was one of 3 Democrats on the House Energy and Commerce Committee to vote against the Democrats' drug pricing bill, along with Reps. Kurt Schrader of Oregon and Kathleen Rice of New York. A different committee later advanced the bill, but the opposition appears to have enough votes to sink the measure and the entire spending plan with it. I get that the pharmaceutical industry owns the Republican Party, and no Republican voted for this bill, Sanders tweeted after the vote, but there is no excuse for every Democrat not supporting it. Peters has received $860,000 from pharmaceutical PACs. That's from the CRP, the second most of any industry. He's already received $88,550 from the industry this election cycle, the most of any House member. On the day he sent the letter to Nancy Pelosi, Peters received big donations from CEOs of Pfizer, Eli Lilly, Merck, Bristol Myers Squibb, as well as lobbyists at Pharma. Holy shit! Yeah, you're right, Drucifer. They lose sight when it's that kind of money. Schrader, who also signed Peters' letter, has also received extension financial backing from the industry. He's received $24,500 from Pharma PACs and employees this cycle, the second most of any industry, and got $144,252 in 2020, the most of any industry. Throughout his career, Schrader, whose grandfather was an executive at Pfizer, oh great, that's a perfect person to put in office. Jesus Christ. Has received $614,830 from the industry, according to CRP data. His former aide left earlier this year and quickly began lobbying for Pharma, according to the Daily... God, dude, like, this is a revolving door, man. Like, what the hell? Like, this is some straight grade A bullshit. Straight grade A bullshit. Peters and Schrader did not respond to questions from Salon, but they have introduced a supposed centrist alternative that would drastically limit the number of drugs whose prices Medicare could negotiate. I'm going to guess those are the people that didn't donate to them. Oh, these guys, man, I don't know. Our Congress is a bunch of shit shows. Like, we need some good people who really care about this country to go in there and run and do something big. We need people that aren't rich, aren't wealthy, don't have millions of dollars, you know? That's what we need. We need something better, you know? And that's us. But it's on us to do that. We have to step in the ring, man. Like, we got to go for it. Even if you just run on the local level. It's masquerading as Medicare negotiation. It's masquerading as a Medicare negotiation bill, Mitchell said, noting that it would exclude Medicare Part D drugs, which make up 83% of Medicare drug spending. The bill would only allow the agency to negotiate a tiny, tiny sliver of drugs covered under Part B that are administered by doctors and hospitals, he said, but would exclude drugs that are still in their period of exclusivity, which can last up to 12 years. To call it Medicare negotiation is a fraud, Mitchell said. That I would agree with. Kathleen Rice's opposition to the bill is less easily explained, since she has not been one of the industry's biggest recipients, collecting a relatively modest $84,000 in campaign contributions from big pharma sources, according to CRP data. Furthermore, Rice had 2 previously voted for earlier versions of the plan and campaigned on lowering drug prices. In a letter to a constituent who expressed disappointment with her vote, Rice said that she supports the goals of the bill and allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices, but that she opposed the bill because it is being used as a tool to offset the costs of a $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill. I'm calling bullshit on that. Yeah, I don't know what that last shit was. Rice cited opposition from Sinema and Joe Manchin over the bill's price tag to justify her vote. That bill has no chance to become law, as Democrats in the Senate have stated that a bill with such a price tag will not have the votes to pass in their chamber, she said in the letter which was obtained by American Prospect. That's a strange and striking argument, considering that Rice voted for many other pieces of legislation that will go into a bill she says has no chance of becoming law. Agreed. You're not going to get a disagreement from me there. Not going to get a disagreement from me there. Rep. Rice believes the House should produce a reconciliation bill that can realistically become law, Rice spokesman Stuart Malik said in a statement to Salon. She supports Medicare negotiation, but the H.R. 3 drug pricing language in its current form does not have the support to pass the Senate, and Rep. Rice does not support advancing provisions that will jeopardize the bill's final passage in the Senate. These large donations are only a portion of the pharmaceutical drug industry's political spending aimed at defeating drug pricing legislation. Pharmaceutical companies have spent more than in any industry on federal lobbying this year, shelling out $171 million so far in 2021. According to CRP, more than twice as much as the next biggest industry. Pharmaceutical companies spent $309 million on lobbying last year, the most ever. Pharma alone has spent more than $15 million on lobbying in the past, and last week launched a 7-figure ad campaign to oppose the drug pricing plan. They're just throwing money all over the place at this. You know, they wouldn't have a problem. They wouldn't need to worry about their budgets if they were actually just spending that money, doing the research, and, you know, accept the fact that, you know what, this is a net loss for you. You're pissing away money, and you know what sucks? They're going to find some way to get a tax write-off for all this shit. These large donations are only a portion of the pharmaceutical industry's political spending aimed at defeating drug pricing legislation. Pharmaceutical companies have spent more than in any industry on federal lobbying this year, shelling out $171 million so far in 2021, according to CRP. Oh, I just read that. They're pulling out all the stops to block this, Mitchell said. What they're fighting to maintain is unilateral power to dictate the prices of brand-name drugs to the people of the United States. They have the power to tell us what we're going to pay, and we just have to say yes. For them, it's the ability to dictate the prices of drugs to patients like me. Now remember, this is the cancer patient, the blood cancer patient. Patient advocates like Mitchell and advocacy groups like the AARP, Protect Our Care, and Social Security Works are pushing back through lobbying and ad campaigns of their own. Pharma thinks this is just like every other time they have bent DC to their will with money. But it isn't. Alex Lawson, executive director of Social Security Works, said in a statement to Salon, noting that grassroots groups have spent years building a broad coalition of support among voters of all political persuasions. And as for the Dems carrying water for Big Pharma, we are showing them the consequences of that. Their phones are ringing off the hook. There's daily protests at their offices. And their local media is full of stories about their cozy relationships with Big Pharma. Lawson expressed optimism that Biden and Pelosi can get the legislation passed given the widespread public support for this issue. Of course she did. And I'll say it right back to her, too. Big Pharma is used to winning. He said they've never gone up against a movement this powerful. Patients for Affordable Drugs Now has also launched an ad campaign targeting Peters and Rice's districts, highlighting members of Congress for choosing Big Pharma over patients. We have the best opportunity that we've had in 2 decades to actually enact reforms that will meaningfully lower the drug prices on prescription drugs and the American people. For the American people, and stop subjecting us to the power of multinational corporations, Mitchell said. It's an uphill fight all the way because we know who we're up against. I think we have a really good shot of getting it done. Well, Mitchell, I hope you're right. I do hope you're right on that.